Hello and welcome to News Center. I'm Madeeha Mujawar. It's been over a month since the tragic Air India plane crash in Ahmedabad. A Wall Street Journal report has quoted sources who have heard the black box recordings and claim the captain of the doomed Air India plane turned off the fuel flow to engines. The junior pilot reportedly panicked and asked the captain why he turned off the switches. The preliminary investigative report did not release the entire black box recordings or identify which pilot said what in the cockpit. Captain C.S. Randhawa, the president of Federation of Indian Pilots, joins us now. Captain Randhawa, thank you very much for speaking to CNBC-TV18. The Wall Street Journal, as you heard, claims that Captain Sabrawal moved the fuel control switches. How do you respond to that?
Madeeha, good evening. I have read this report in the morning at 8:46. It was Indian Standard Time. It was released by Wall Street Journal. And I was pained to read the report, as there is no evidence in the preliminary report which has been circulated by Government of India that the pilots had cut off the engines. On the contrary, if you see the CVR recording, it has said that the pilots are talking amongst each other that who cut off the switches. So they are not clear when they are commenting, the foreign media is commenting that the pilots have done it, then they should have evidence. The preliminary report and the Minister of Civil Aviation in his press conference has not indicated at all that the pilots have moved the fuel control switches. The report says it transitioned. Now, what does transition mean? Transition, this is an American terminology used. And it is either fuel control switches are to cut off or to run. So transition means in between, transitioning from one point to another point.
You're right. You're right, Captain Randhawa. The report does not clarify how the switches transitioned from run to cut off, who did that. They don't clearly say, the report doesn't clearly say whether the pilots did it. Captain Randhawa, why do you think the findings of the AAIB's investigation, which has Indian investigators, are being reported by the American media? The NTSB, we know, was a part of this probe. So do you believe that the US agencies have any role in influencing the narrative through these reports that we see in American media?
It could be. It could be very much possible what you are saying. There is a lot of truth in it, that how come they are getting access to such information. In fact, the Western media had the report contents before it was made to public. So I would say that that this is actually deliberately attacking the community as such around the world. It's not only in India, the whole pilot fraternity. It is not a joke that you're playing around with. It's like playing with toys, at home. So this is a serious matter where the fuel control switches are concerned. It is only under 3 circumstances the switch is supposed to be moved as per the manufacturer. Now, this particular accident is not being related to the ANA aircraft, which both the engines flamed out, which happened on 17th of January in 2019 at Osaka. So the advisory on FAA of 2018 has been given more emphasis, the locking system of the fuel control switch. If the fuel control switch is not moved, so that does not take that much of credibility.
So, Captain Randhawa, if I may ask, what makes you strongly deny pilots' role in moving these switches to cut off? Your letter to the Aviation Ministry said it's not possible for a pilot to move both the switches from run to cut off in one second. It also mentions a possible FADEC misinterpretation. Could you tell us more about that, and why do you think these were not addressed in the preliminary report? Is there enough understanding within the AAIB about these complex systems? And if you could tell us, why do you think the pilots didn't have any role in moving the switches?
You see, I'm going by the chronological events, how it happened. Um, the CVR transcript should have been right from the time the aircraft got the takeoff clearance till the time the aircraft crashed. In the prelim report, they should have given the entire conversation, second by second. They have given parts of the things in the DFDR. There, in DFDR also, everything is not mentioned. Now, I want to ask that why the CVR transcript, which is a very crucial part of evidence, has not been covered in detail. The pilot's call, the clearance to take off, what they have observed in the takeoff, was there any abnormality, what are the speeds, what are called out, aircraft got airborne, what are the health of the engines, not mentioned in the DFDR.
Right.
Then subsequently, the first action is when the aircraft gets airborne, the landing gear is taken up by 50, 70, 80 feet. Now, why is the landing gear not gone up? I want to know that. Nothing has been mentioned. Nothing
Captain
has been
Randhawa, if you could tell us what are the possibilities of the fuel switches turning from run to cut off? What are the possibilities that could lead to that transition?
You see, they are cut off. When is the fuel switch cut off? Once it is put to run, it is cut off when you want to cut the engine. Now, the Boeing company says there are only three exigencies in which in the air you normally cut off that engine. One is one is a possibility when both engines are flamed out because you put it to cut off and run, because to reset the EEC, electronic engine control, and to start the relighting process. The second is when engine has caught fire, you want to cut off the fuel supply, so you want to be doubly sure. Though the fire handle will cut off the fuel supply, but to make sure you cut off the fuel control switch also. Now, the third case is when there is a severe damage on the engine or it stalls. That is the third exigency under which the fuel control switch is cut off. So,
Captain Randhawa, you've also said in your letter that if the wreckage is showing switches back in the run position, so what does that indicate to you about the crew's actions in the cockpit? And you were just mentioning that as well. So I added just another question on the wreckage showing the switch buttons to run position again.
That makes me more sure that the pilots have not touched the fuel control switches because they were found in run position. And the second point is, if the pilot cut off the fuel control switch, it's taken 10 seconds to put it on. What rubbish! Because what we train the pilots, I have trained so many pilots that in case of dual engine flame out, the fuel switch is cut off and put to run, then the other one. So we do this action.
So
right?
why do you think the AAIB is not releasing the entire transcript of the cockpit recording? What is holding it back?
That is very intriguing to me. And firstly, I want to tell you, Madeeha, that there's not a single pilot on the investigation committee. We question that. No pilot. And we have been saying, forget about the pilot, we said that you need subject matter experts and Boeing 787 qualified pilots, engineers, and air safety specialists who should be in the board or in the committee.
Right. Lastly, Captain, what I will like to ask is, does the pilot fraternity feel this investigation is leading towards blaming the crew prematurely? Is that what you feel?
Yes, the pilots are demoralized, and it is not good to have demoralized pilots flying.
That was Captain Randhawa of the Federation of Indian Pilots. We are now joined by former Joint Director at DGCA, JS Rawat. So thank you very much for joining the show. I'm sure you've read the Wall Street Journal report that says Captain Sabharwal turned the fuel switches to cut off. How do you respond to that? WSJ says they have sources who've heard the black box recording, and that's how they've reported that the first officer panicked, but the captain was calm. How do you respond to that?
Basically, this is based on the information what they have received. I think NTSB and Boeing was also involved in the accident investigation. So whatever information they have received on the basis of that, now the report says that the recording seems to suggest that Captain Sabharwal cut the fuel engines seconds after takeoff. So it is just a conclusion which is based on the evidences available with them in the form of recording and also backed by some of the EFDR data. So that is not a final conclusion. It is just it suggests whatever the evidence is suggesting that it is like that. So there
the report. The WSJ report says, sir, they have sources who are telling them that they've heard the black box recording, and this is what they heard, that the first officer panicked when the switches were off and the captain was calm. And that's how they are suggesting that it was the captain who turned the fuel switches from run to cut off.
So that's what they are saying. They are no authority to give a final conclusion on that. The final conclusion will be on the basis of the investigation which has been carried out by the Indian government and whatever they call the AAIB. So that will be the final say in that. Now so many people can jump to the conclusion based on the evidence of what they are having, but that is not there. That is not true. Investigating authority has to rule out all the possibilities regarding the switches problem and whatever the problems are there with the switches, which has been highlighted through the circular, FAA circular and EASA circular also. So they have to see from all the point of view before concluding the final, coming to the final conclusion.
You're right, sir, but the WSJ report seems very confident. The tone is very confident. And this is the second time that they're reporting on the investigation. The first report that they had was that the investigation is focusing on the fuel switches, and days later, AAIB confirmed that it was the fuel switches that led to the engine losing thrust. This is their second report. So what is the likelihood of this becoming true?
The WSJ is not the authority which is recognized by the ICAO for the purpose of the investigation. ICAO recognizes the state, and in the state, AAIB is the concerned body which is a final authority which has to be considered by the ICAO. Now, WSJ may write so many things. Every paper may write so many things of this issue. Now you are hearing about that it is premature to call the pilot. They are putting the blame on the pilot. So this is the conclusion which they have based on. They have arrived based on the evidences which are available with them. The investigation has not been completed. So further, when the investigation will be completed, only then it can be said by the authority, in this case the DGCA, what was the cause of the accident.
Thank you, Mr. Rawat, for speaking to CNBC-TV18. It's time for a break. News and updates continue on the other side.